I'm quitting the law to play golf. I have one goal. Within 4 years, I want to be playing professional golf on tour. So I'm calling this challenge the Tour in 4. This channel documents quitting the law to play golf. I'm 40, in pretty dismal shape, and I never touched golf clubs until my 30s. I also have bills to pay along the way. These are some pretty big obstacles. In the parlance of the law, some would say I have a reckless disregard for reality by abandoning my law degree and my career.
I plead the fifth.
Making the tour from my starting condition would be an unparalleled achievement in golf. I don't know anybody that's ever done it before, but there's a first for everything, and whatever happens every day trying to do this will be immensely more satisfying than litigating cases. Playing golf, even on bad days, is way less stressful. Getting to the top level of golf takes a nearly inconceivable amount of work, skill development, resource management, and support.
And that's what's so interesting to me is like I read a lot of comments on YouTube, and they've even said it to me or like just various people in the YouTube golf space, like, oh, dude, you should go pro, or like you have what it takes to become a pro golfer. It's like, you really don't, dude. Like, you really don't. No. Like, it takes so much time, effort, practice to get to that level. You can watch like top amateur golfers or top, whatever, Division II, whoever, even like really good YouTube golfers, and you're kind of like, oh, that's pretty solid. But then when you watch those guys, you're like,
he's not wrong. It takes so much time, effort, and practice to get to that level. So am I delusional? Maybe. I could fail spectacularly, but I don't think that's guaranteed, because I have a few tools that I bring to this challenge that I think will give me an outsized chance to pull it off. But before I get to those, let me talk about the obstacles in my way. First, in case you missed it, I'm 40. Anyone around this age knows what that means. The physical challenges alone wick out into every area of life. Metabolism slows down, testosterone levels begin to slide. If we aren't going to the gym, we get weaker and fatter. And if we are going to the gym, oftentimes injuries creep in and we don't recover nearly as quickly as we used to in earlier decades. Feeling lethargic, brain fog, general fatigue, these are all too common. And then on top of that, at this stage in life, we give everything we have emotionally to our families, friends, employers, clients, church and civic groups, and then practically everyone else, but then rarely have even residue of emotion left for ourselves. I have this old Magic the Gathering card from when I was a teenager that has this flavor text that I like. It says how I sometimes feel. I don't care whether I live or die, so long as I can rest. This hits differently now than it did when I was young. I feel it. I feel tired. I feel old. This is a colossal obstacle, and it's only the first. The second obstacle is on top of the natural cadence of aging. Probably like many of you, I've had some bizarre injuries. I tore my ACL a number of years ago. I had my ACL repaired, but I still have residual weakness just based on the kind of repair procedure that was done. 6 years ago, I had a bone marrow edema on the head of my femur in that same knee. I couldn't bend my knee without feeling like a knife was just slicing into the back of my leg. I don't even know how it happened, but it took 12 months to heal. I had to completely stop lifting legs, and that sucked. But a worse injury came just 2 years ago, a freak injury. I was drafting some reports for some of my cases. Admittedly, I was overloaded, and my workstation was actually pretty poor. Now, I had worked for multiple 10-hour days leading up to the incident, holding my arms over my keyboard so that I could type my reports. Again, a really poor setup. I ended up getting a repetitive strain injury that damaged the brachial plexus nerve here in my neck. It paralyzed a couple of muscle groups down the right side of my body. My first was my teres major, and then my second was my brachioradialis. I also lost sensation in my forearm, on the back of my hand, and on my palm. I couldn't even hold a gallon of milk. I did physical therapy, but I still haven't fully recovered. I still have numbness even now 2 years later. But because of all of this, I actually haven't lifted or golfed in the last 2 years. That is a big obstacle because my skill set has probably significantly decreased from what it was prior to these injuries. So I've got a lot of training to do to get back. A third obstacle is the sheer cost of doing this. The only person that I ever heard say golf was cheap was a guy that had already sold a company and bagged millions. That's a completely different life from what most of us live, me included. Walking away from the law will leave me without that income stream for who knows how long. A fourth obstacle is the time commitment. The only way this works is if I do this full time. I'll need to do it like it's my job.
The problem is the time investment. Like, I don't think you can do both. Like, personally, I mean, you think you could be a full-time
Absolutely
YouTuber
not.
and try to be a full-time professional golfer?
No, it's one or the
Absolutely
other.
Like, yeah, that's the thing. Is like, if you're gonna be great, you got to focus on it.
Right.
One or the other.
A fifth obstacle is the negativity that I know is coming. Now, it might not be worse than some of the hostility that I've had from opposing counsel over the years, but negativity is so draining. I welcome constructive criticism, but ad hominem and trolling are an endless supply on social media. But I have a few things that I feel will tilt the scale the other way, some competitive advantages, if you will. First, I got permission from my wife. Now, not just permission, I've been endorsed. You know there's no way that this goes anywhere without that kind of stakeholder buy-in. And she's all in. In fact, she's been telling me to do this for more than a year. Second, I tend to be a quick study. Now, before you roast me too hard in the comments, I already know that the examples I'm about to give are nowhere near the same level as what I'm going to try to do. Going from where I am to being professional golf material. I already know that. So properly disclaim to go ahead and roast away. But while you do, let me tell you about some of my experiences that give me an idea that this is possible. In high school, I did track and field. I know that's a number of years ago, but I was a sprinter, ran the 100 meters and the 200 meters, and did a couple of relay teams. Just before my senior year, I got kind of strong after hitting the weights with the throwers. And because the throwers now were my friends, I ended up going to some of their throwing practices just to hang out and play around. I started to insert myself into their rotations, and then I started to copy their technique. Then I outthrew half of them. So what started out as just kind of horsing around became pretty serious. I got good enough that my coach pulled me from the relay teams to throw. Now, I also weighed probably 100 pounds less than the average thrower. So nobody ever thought I would have any success just based on my size. But I genuinely enjoyed throwing. Throwing is very technically involved. So it kept my brain engaged. It was something I could study and then imitate, so that's what I did. In just 9 months, I went from having never touched either a discus or a shot put to being the state champion one and the runner-up in the other.
Hey Chris, come on.
In college and in law school, I did competitive Olympic weightlifting, the snatch and the clean and jerk. Yes, this was pre-CrossFit, before these lifts ever became trendy. But in my opinion, no other lifts compare to the technical complexity of these two. So like the throws, the technique of the Olympic lifts engaged my brain. I became proficient and one of the strongest pound-for-pound lifters in my state, holding the state records in my weight class for a number of years. From where I started, it took me about a year to build my way up to qualifying for and then competing at collegiate nationals. Ironically, I never really did these lifts with my eye on competing at any sort of high level. It just happened. I did these lifts because I enjoyed them. Getting good and winning competitions was a byproduct of doing something normal that I enjoyed, a routine workout. Now, given my history with sports that required strength, speed, and some sort of technique, I used to make fun of golfers. I was one of those people that said golf wasn't a real sport. I argued that it didn't require hardly any athletic ability to be some sort of out-of-shape guy that would hit a ball with a stick and then take a stroll.
Today it was pretty good, with 3 bottles of Crown and barefooted, and I hit it pretty good today.
To me, athleticism needed some kind of strength, speed, jump, or endurance component to it. And golf just wasn't that. Golfers weren't athletes. But then, in 2018, when I was 33, I got my very first set of golf clubs from a friend. And then a coworker of mine that played off scratch gave me a lesson on how to hold the club, how to orient the club face, and then rotate through a shot. It was about 10 minutes of pointers, but it was enough to make me reconsider and think, maybe there's more to golf than I thought. So I went to a driving range for the first time and started hitting balls following the advice that I had got from my coworker. Flushing a few shots was all it took. I was hooked. I filmed myself, and then after reviewing my footage of my shots compared to those of the people that were on the range already, I remember I pompously concluded that my technique was already better than like 80% of the guys there. Now, I probably overcredited myself, but I really felt like I was onto something. And I had to get better. Now, I was one of those guys that didn't just catch the bug. I was fully infected. And that's when I started studying golf and putting what I learned into practice. I remember I found Rick Shiels' complete golf swing guide and his complete driver guide series of videos. I watched those videos ad nauseum. I'll go ahead and link them in the description so you can see. I watched every golf movie I could find. I devoured all the serious YouTube content that I could find. I was committed to getting good. Fortunately, during my first year golfing, I also worked at a university, and I got to take free classes. Naturally, I took the golf class. At the end of the semester, we had an in-class golf tournament, and I beat everybody, including my professor. I shot a 1-over on a 9-hole par 3 course. A few weeks later, I got a call from the exercise science department asking if I wanted to teach the golf class. My professor was leaving for some new role and had recommended me to the department chair to take over teaching the class. I jumped on that opportunity and ended up teaching that class for the next 2 years. I became a professor of golf after just 1 year playing. From these experiences, I have a pile of evidence that shows me I could actually elevate my own golf game in an abbreviated period of time. I believe that the evidence that I've been able to gather shows that I can actually do this. It's similar to what Alex Hormozy said. Now, to paraphrase, he basically said, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by stacking undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Give yourself so much proof that you are the version of yourself that you want to be, that the only rational outcome is that you become that person. Outwork self-doubt. My third competitive advantage is that even though work and life and unrelated injuries have left me in decline these last few years. I'm not just ready to reverse the trend, I have the equipment and the information I need to do it. Years ago, before law school, I owned a fitness company and trained many clients. I was a certified personal trainer and even had and have my next level performance enhancement specialist credential. That's something I feel is unique to me. I don't know of any other golfer that also has that sort of training, to be able to know what to do in the gym, which will dovetail with their high-level golf, but I have that. I know how to build effective training programs to enhance performance. Now, accounting for my own vulnerabilities that I now know, and the kind of golf that I want to play, I feel like I can put together for myself an elite training program. And on top of that, I've also put together the exact kind of gym that I want to be able to train in, so that I can train when and how I want, as well as I've put together a golf simulator to practice and run data analysis. Now, I'm sure we'll touch on some of the equipment and things in later videos, but in summary, I just want to share that I have the education that I need to build a training program so specifically tailored to myself that I should be able to guard against future injury and be able to put my body back into a condition at the level that I would need to be able to play high-level golf. That's my third competitive advantage. My fourth advantage is once I wrap up my legal work, it should give me enough money to be able to have a short runway to be able to give this a real shot, at least for the first year. I'm hoping that by the time I'm out of runway, this YouTube channel and the community that I hope I will be able to build will be enough to support me the rest of the way. When all considered, I think there's a narrow way through.
I see possible futures. There is a narrow way through.
And you're going to get everything that's happening with me step by step, mostly raw and mostly unpolished. I still want to share with you my lifting, my swing training, my practice routines, my diet, my challenges, any setbacks that I experience, but also my successes. I want you to be a part of it. And if I'm sharing this with you, I want you to share feedback with me. I want to get better as quickly as I can, and I want your help to do it. So right now, stop whatever you're doing and make a comment. Seriously, give me the best criticism you have of this video or of my idea or anything else that's come to mind. Go ahead and share it with me. And then another thing I want you to do is share this video with just one other person that you know that loves golf that might be able to help me, or that might want to give me some criticism. That's it. You can subscribe to my channel if you want, but the most important thing to me is that you come back for my next video. If subscribing is how you want to be able to do that, go ahead. But no pressure. I just want you to come back so that you can catch the remainder of my videos along this beautiful odyssey.
All I need are some better days, 'cause all I want, and I pray, I believe in the better days.